Oh, Jonathan, I've been up all night patching applications. I've done 7 versions of 7-zip, I've done 3 VLC updates, and I'm pretty sure I've just deployed Minecraft to the finance team. Again.
Mike, why are you still doing this manually?
Because Microsoft 365 can't do it. Sure, it's great for security, devices and policies, but when it comes to third-party apps, forget it. It's like trying to make a cup of tea with a toaster.
Well, Mike, you're in luck because I have got something that can do all this for you.
Jonathan, have you built me a robot? Like R2-D2? 3CPO? Or what about that Boston Dynamics one that can make you a cup of tea?
Or better than that, this one lives in the cloud, works perfectly with Intune, and it'll stop you crashing the CEO's laptop.
What's it called?
Robopack.
It sounds like Optimus Prime's geeky cousin.
More like the best tool you will ever use for application patching.
Will Robopack stop me deploying Candy Crush to HR?
Yes, and it'll do all of your app updates automatically, properly tested, without you, Mike, lifting a finger.
Jonathan, I think I love you.
Save that until after the demo. Now, Robopack focuses on one thing: third-party application management in Intune. In other words, keeping all of your apps up to date without the endless cycle of downloading installers, writing detection scripts, and hoping nothing breaks. In today's video, we're going to go through Robopack's main features. We've got radar, we've got radar tracking, we've got the app library, we've got custom apps, and we've got patch groups. And for each feature, I'm going to explain what it does, the real-world problem it solves, and I'm going to show you a demo. Let's get started. Okay, the first feature in Robopack that I want to talk about is called Radar. Now, Radar scans your Intune tenant, and it lists every application that is installed on your devices. The name of the application, the version, and which device it's installed on. Let's think of a good example with one of your clients. There's a finance team, and they've got Adobe Reader 2020. The marketing team have version 2024. And Bob from sales is on a 2017 version that he installed from a DVD. Now, security wants everything patched yesterday. But without visibility, you're just guessing. And that is how vulnerabilities creep in. Now, Radar comes in really handy here because it shows you every version of every app, so you know exactly what needs patching. Now, from there, you can create something called a patch flow. You can start with your IT pilot devices. Then you can move on to a small group of testers. And then everyone. So updates roll out in a safe and controlled way. Let's take a look at Radar. So, welcome to Robopack. First, I want to show you the Radar feature. So from the home page, I simply click on here, Robopack Radar. Now, the whole point of Radar is that we can scan Intune tenants. So what we do is we choose our tenant from the drop-down. So if you're an MSP, all your customers should be shown in here. I'll choose this test tenancy here. So what you can see here is that Radar has pulled the apps from Intune. For example, you can see 7-zip. The type here is an Intune app. But what Radar has also done is pulled the discovered apps from the devices inside of your Microsoft 365. So the clever thing about Radar is it's pulling all this information together and presenting it to you here. So you've got the different versions and you can see how many devices these apps are installed on. So in one screen, you can see all of the apps inside of your business, which I think is really clever. So your job now as an MSP or an IT admin is get these apps patched. Now, we don't just want to patch them today as a one-off, but for example, this one, we want to patch 7-zip every time a new version of 7-zip gets released. So how do we do that? Well, we do that using something in Robopack called a patch flow. We simply click on there. And then we name the flow. Now that's been populated with the app name. I've got no reason to change it, but you can do. And then we've got some other options if you want to go a bit more advanced. For now, I will simply click on Create Flow. Now, because this is a test environment, there's already a deployment for 7-Zip in here. But that's not a problem to me. I'm going to create another one. Okay, that has been created. So now we've created this patch flow, we've then got to decide who gets this application first. Who's going to get the 7-Zip application? Now, in some companies, I know they just push the applications out to everyone at once. But in my experience, it's a good idea to test the application on a small number of devices before rolling it out to everyone. How do we do this in Robopack? We do this by using something called Deployment Waves. I click on a wave. So my wave has been created, but I need to assign some groups to this wave. Okay, so here I can create a new group in Intune, or I can choose an existing group. Okay, so I will choose my IT pilot group. I think it's better to let the IT team suffer first if the application isn't working as expected. We've got some information here. Look, the tenant ID, the tenant name. Okay, that's the right group. Happy with that. I add that group to the wave. And if we then click on here, we can modify the assignments. So this is what you normally do within Intune. So you can make it required, available, uninstall, etc., etc. Okay. And then one of the most important factors is this bit here. Okay, response and success. So, for example, if in the IT pilot computers we've got 10 computers, okay, we want the response to be 60%. So 6 out of those 10 computers, we want to try and install that application. Okay, that's a good number. But out of those 6 computers, what do we want the success rate to be? Well, I think based on this wave, I think we want that to be 100%. So I could put that in here. So out of those 6 computers, we want a minimum of 6 computers, and we want them all to have installed the application without any problems. Okay, so I'm happy with that wave now. But now I need to add another deployment wave. Okay, who am I going to assign the app to in this wave? Well, again, it depends on your business, but I'm going to choose a existing group, and I will search for the app pilot group. So, you know, we've always got some people within the business who are quite happy to be test users. Okay, it might be 5 or 6 users within the business, and they're quite happy to have new applications installed. So it might go to them. Again, we're going to keep this as it is. So at the moment, we're in a good spot. We've got IT pilot users. It's getting installed on there. Success of 100%, then it moves on to wave 2, success of 100%. At this point, I'm quite happy to then roll it out to the rest of the business. So add another deployment wave, existing group, all devices, there she is, add groups to the wave. Okay. Now, if you're an MSP, you've obviously got multiple customers. Now, you might have noticed when I created the 3rd wave, if I just click on here again, what I can do is I can deploy the app to multiple tenants. Okay, so we've got the all devices group in this tenancy. We've got the all devices group in this tenancy. We've got the all devices group in this tenancy. So what I could do in theory is do it like this. So as an MSP now, I'm deploying 7-Zip to some IT pilot computers within my MSP. And when that works out okay, I'm then deploying it to some app pilot users. They might be in my MSP. They might be in a few select customers. And once all that has gone okay, we can then deploy it to all the devices across all of our customers. That could be a really nice approach. Next up is radar tracking. Now, radar tracking finds and patches anyone who already has an app installed, even if they weren't in your original deployment group. Now, let's think of a real-world example. You create a group called Adobe Reader Users, and you deploy the latest version. But it turns out that half the company also has Adobe Reader, just not through your official process. Now, without tracking those users, well, they stay vulnerable. Now, radar tracking automatically creates an Intune group of every device with that app. So they get patched alongside your main rollout. There's no repackaging required. It just works perfectly. Let's take a look. So we're still on our 7-zip deployment, but I want to show you a different scenario in your business. Instead of wave 3 getting pushed out to everyone, it's quite plausible that we might manage groups in a different way. We might have wave 3 pushing it out to people who should have the application installed. So I've got a group here called App 7-zip Required. Now, obviously here we're using 7-zip as an example, but you might have an app in your business and you're pushing it out to people who you've bought a license for, or people who you've approved can have the application. But we all know, as IT people, that there's a massive difference between people who need an app and people who actually have the app. So with this setup here, people who have the app and shouldn't have the app aren't getting patched, okay? And that is where radar tracking comes in. So here's radar tracking here. When we enable it, radar tracking will create a group in Microsoft Entra. Okay, we select the tenant there. If I just click on here, it'll show us the name of the group it's creating. It will create this group in Microsoft Entra. Radar tracking will then add computers to that group if it detects that 7-zip is installed on that computer. Okay, it will then automatically deploy to these devices in sync with our wave 3. Okay, so wave 1 IT pilot, wave 2 app pilot users, and then people in this group, and then kind of all the rest at the same time. So with radar tracking, we've managed to patch everyone who should have the app, and even everyone who has the app and maybe they shouldn't have the app. And for compliance, this is a huge win for organizations. Now, this is where Robopack really gets tasty. It's application library. Now, Robopack has a library of over, wait for it, 41,000 apps, all prepackaged, tested on Robopack's virtual machines, and ready to deploy. Now, manually packaging an app in Intune, as you know, can take a while. Downloading, finding the silent install switches, creating detection rules, and you repeat that every time that there's an update. Now with Robopack, everything is ready to go. You've got install and uninstall commands. You've got detection methods, register keys, and even leftover files. So you can deploy with just a couple of clicks. Let's take a look. So here is the Robopack app library. Now, Robopack has over 41,000 applications already packaged, already tested, and ready to go. So you're going to see apps in here with their proper names and logos, and that means they've been tested in Robopack's own data center on their own virtual machines in Denmark. So you know you can have confidence that these apps actually work. Let's stick with the example of 7-zip. Open that here. You can see all these different versions that are available, and each one has gone through testing. What I would do now is I would analyze and build, which would drop this app into my own Robopack instance. I'll just call it something a little bit different. Okay, something like that, so we can differentiate it. Click on continue. Click on import app. Okay, this is now in my instance of Robopack. We've got a green tick, which means it's fully tested and it's all good. Let's just take a look at the app documentation, and you can see all the information that Robopack has created for us. Now, if you've ever packaged applications yourself just using Intune, you know that this can be a bit difficult. It can be a little bit trial and error. But Robopack, it's come up with the install commands, the uninstall commands, the detection methods, and even details like register entries and leftover files. Everything is documented here within the app, okay? Nice and easy. Let's just go back to the app now. What I would then do, if I'm happy with that, is I would simply import that to Intune, okay? It comes up with a tenant. I can connect additional tenants and import the application into multiple tenants, okay? All very nice and simple. But you might be thinking, well, what happens, 7-Zip's quite a straightforward app, but what happens if I need to customize an app? Say, add a license key or change some parameters or something like that. Well, we can go in here, and here's my custom settings. I can do lots in here. I can choose a different version of the software that I want to amend. And then I've got my install and uninstall commands. Pretend I'm not happy with this one. Maybe I want to do a no restart or something like that. I can just come into here and I can change my command. Nice and easy. I can do the same for this one here. And what about adding registry values? If you ever tried doing that just with Intune, you'll know that's pretty difficult. With Robopack, it's very easy. I can just simply add a registry value. What about putting files on machines? Again, this is an incredibly useful tool. I can just upload the files and add it anywhere I want within the machine. Okay? And then I've got my PowerShell script commands. Again, I can just build these out. I can choose what section it is. Is it post-installation, pre-installation? And I can build out my PowerShell commands. This is extremely useful. Now, the changes I've just made there, you can see here, look, are all tenants. But what if I'm deploying an app in a different way to a certain tenant and the rest of the tenants I'm deploying the same way? Well, easy. I can just simply go into here. I can choose my tenant and I can choose exactly what I'm doing for this tenancy here. So it's incredibly, incredibly flexible and a huge time saver for MSPs. So the next feature are called custom apps. What are custom apps? Now, what happens if you want to add a bespoke app and it's not in the Robopack library? Well, that, ladies and gentlemen, is easy. Because Robopack figures out the install, uninstall commands and wraps them for Intune automatically. Now, what happens if you need to deploy a niche app? Normally, that means hours and hours of trial and error to get the silent installs working and the detection rules bang on. But now that process is become easy. You just upload the installer. Robopack scans it. It tests it in their secure virtual environment in Denmark. And it adds it to your library for deployment. No scripting needed. Let's take a look. So not every app that you need for your client is going to be available in the Robopack library. So that is where custom apps come in. So in this example, I'm going to use Global Secure Access. Okay, it's an executable, and I know a lot of MSPs are going to want to push this out to clients. But there'll be other custom apps that your customers have as well. How do we do this? Using Robopack. Well, it's very easy. From here, look, click on Convert Package, and then I'll choose my Global Secure Access client. Now, when we're packaging an app for Intune, we need all types of information. We need the install command, the uninstall commands, the detection rules, the whole thing, okay? And that can take a little bit of work. What Robopack has done is automate all this. So now when I click on Continue, as you can see, it knows the install command. So what Robopack is going to do now is install it and test the package. It's going to wrap it in PSADT, okay? So click on Continue and click on Create. That is now going to create this package. So what Robopack will do now is scan this executable for viruses, okay? Just to make sure it's secure and we're not uploading anything dodgy. Okay, what you can see now is the Global Secure Access client actually installing onto a virtual machine in Robopack's data center in Denmark. It's going to copy the files, it's going to install, uninstall, and it's going to work out our uninstall command. It's going to do everything for this application. And that has completed. Let's take a look at the app documentation now. And you can see, look, it has worked everything out for us. Install commands, uninstall commands, the detection methods. We've got install logs. We've got everything what we saw in the apps earlier. All the registry settings, everything we've got here. And that took just a couple of minutes maximum to get our custom app up into Robopack. And what I can do now with this is I can go back to it. I can set up a Robopack flow, as we discussed earlier. so it always gets the latest version. Custom apps in Robopack. Very easy. Now let's move on to a feature called patch groups. Now, patch groups are reusable rollout settings that you can apply to multiple apps at once across multiple tenants. Now, let's pretend you've got 20 apps and they all need to be patched. And each one of these apps needs the same rollout pattern. Now, you can do this manually, but it's slow and it's pretty boring and error prone. But in Robopack, all you need to do is create a patch group once with your different waves, filters, and assignments. Then you add your apps to it. And Robopack, it does the rest. Let me show you. Now, if you remember at the start of the video, we spoke about all these apps here and creating patch flows. But as MSPs and IT admins, we've got a lot of apps, haven't we? And you might have noticed with this video that Robopack is all about saving us time, okay? We can go through each of these and create patch flows. It just takes a bit of time. Robo has fixed that with a feature called patch groups, okay? So I go into here, I create a patch group, I give it a name, the state is enabled, we can add some advanced config if we want, and this screen will look familiar. We can start building our waves. Or to save even more time, why not just copy the waves from the deployment I made earlier? 7-zip. Recognize this one? I do. Copy those waves into here. Okay, here are my waves. Nice and easy. I can do what I need to do with the radar tracking if I want, but for now, I'm going to save the patch group. And here is my patch group. I've created it. It's generic. At the moment, it's got no apps in it. But what I can do is I could add an instant app. Let's look at FileZilla. OK. Click on OK. FileZilla. Add some more apps. Google Chrome. Create the flow. What about importing some apps with Radar? OK, choose my tenancy here. We've got all these. Why don't I just choose a load of these? Screenshot. Put them in a patch group, add the 4 apps. They've been added. Look at my patch group now. So as you can see, again, it's another time saver. It's going to really speed up getting these apps patched in your business and for your customers. So as you can see, Robopack solves a huge problem for IT departments and MSPs. What's more, Robopack is completely agentless and it stores your data in Denmark for EU data compliance. Now, whilst Robopack uses Winget to provide its vast library, it does scan, install, uninstalls, and verifies every package before it's available to you, all within 30 minutes of it being released. Now, let's talk about pricing for Robopack. It is very simple. It's around $3 per device per year. Now, you can try it for a couple of weeks or you can book a free demo. And what's more, once you've signed in, you can check out Robopack University for free training on Intune, Autopilot, SCCM, and more. Now, if you're using Microsoft 365, you already know that it's brilliant for managing devices and security. But when it comes to third-party apps and updates, it simply can't do this. Robopack fills that gap, and it saves you hours of work every single week. Now, there's a link in the description below this video, so why don't you give Robopack a go today? I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I'd like to thank Robopack for sponsoring it, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.